I wish I knew these secrets about breastfeeding, because my first time breastfeeding would have been a lot more of a beautiful experience. So that's why I'm recording this video, so that you can make better choices than I did. First, radio boob or twiddle tip. I'm going to actually divide it into parts because I fell for the first one, but thankfully the second one somebody told me, and I'm so thankful for that. Breastfeeding is a beautiful experience. So you start with the baby, and so much is happening that is hard to learn everything when you are in it. So it's good to prepare. And because of the mechanical action of the baby sucking, the nipples start changing a little bit, right? So normally they engorge because it's part of the transformation after pregnancy. The color and everything is different, and they, in my opinion, look beautiful as soon as you give birth. But then because the baby is sucking and pulling, that mechanical action starts changing the nipple. Besides the nipples being called elastic because of that elongation while the baby is breastfeeding, what I noticed about 6 months in my breastfeeding journey is that the nipple started staying more elongated instead to go back to normal. So that concerned me. I spoke with my family, and it's like, I don't know if I should stop right here, because I wanted to do 3 years. And it's like, I'm 6 months in and my breast is looking like that. So I was a little concerned about that. Somebody in my family told me, don't worry, that will go back to normal. However, there is another thing, which is the actual radio boob, that she was so mad that nobody told her. And now she had been doing it for a couple of years. So that's when the baby is feeding on one breast, but is playing with the other breast. And it's so cute, you have your baby and they're there and they're playing, and it's just cute. So she didn't think about telling the baby to stop. It's something that comforts them. And what happens is that, yeah, people complain about it hurts or it's uncomfortable, but what they don't talk about is that the nipples elongate even more because of that mechanical action. And seriously, I searched information about this and I didn't see anything. So I'm just grateful that normally I was covering my other breast, and that's what I recommend to do. And just give the baby a toy or something so that they don't play with the other breast, because at that point you have double the impact. And one thing is sucking, but with the hands, they sometimes pinch or twist, and that's, I would not recommend that unless you really don't care about how you're gonna look later. I would totally just avoid that. If it happens to you, now you know what are the risks, so now you can make an educated decision. Second is, most people say the breast after giving birth changes because of the pregnancy. That is not because of breastfeeding. It's not like that. I'm sorry, but maybe people want to be encouraged to breastfeed, and there are amazing things about it. This video is not necessarily about that, even though I will share some very interesting positive things about breastfeeding. But the pulling that we talked about, that's part of it. So it's that mechanical action. The baby also sometimes pulls in different areas, so not only the nipple. What happened to me is that also he started teething. So at that point, he was also stronger. So at night, he would just stand and push as he was sucking. Well, it was like painful, uncomfortable, and it was concerning. Uh, but not that mechanical action only changed the breast, but also the breast has adapted to generate these milk ducts to produce the milk. And after that, when we stop, they start kind of disappearing. So the breast starts a little bit deflating. And well, if you eat a lot and have a lot of fat, maybe it's replaced with fat, but otherwise, that volume for the most part is not going to be there. So that also changes. Before breastfeeding, I had a C cup. During breastfeeding, I had a G. Like, that was like crazy. But after, right now, which I'm like 2 months after I left it, I have a B. Like a big B, but like I noticed that I have less volume. So all of this, I'm hoping, for what I'm talking with my physician, will continue to get back to normal, but this can take up to 2 years. Up to 2 years, my hormones start adapting. So basically, what happens is that the prolactin stops when you stop breastfeeding, and then the estrogen and other hormones start coming back in at a regular level. But each person is different. Who knows how long it's going to take? So that's another part that, and seriously, I don't talk about this with anybody because it just feels so personal, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about this either. So anyway, here I am speaking with you because you might go through the same journey, and I want you to know. I feel that if I had known this, maybe I would have done 6 months instead of a year, so that I can recover a little faster. The other thing is, third thing, that once you decide to stop, it's not like, boom, here it is, we stop today. No. And I thought that it's going to be because of the baby maybe wanting to continue, but I actually felt kind of depressed. So they talk about depression, postpartum depression, but this was lactation depression, who nobody told me about, that I could get depressed because I was weaning my baby. So that was part of it. I was like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? This is my first baby. No, it was just, my world just was collapsing when this happened, and it was like such a difficult time. So that made it even harder, because every morning it's like, okay, this is the last time, and it's like, no, I can have to feed him again. So that was part of the hardship to stop breastfeeding. And in addition to that, the baby co-sleeping with us. So the baby still co-sleep with us. And every night he would just go to the breast, especially because the teething, which was the thing that I say, okay, I have to stop. So I have spoken with my pediatrician, and I told my pediatrician, we're sleeping with the baby, we're co-sleeping. Oh, you have to stop, because now he's teething, you want to stop breastfeeding. So do some sleep training, meaning you're gonna put the baby for the nap in a crib, let him there. If he cries, you come back, look a little bit. If just maybe hold him to see if he's doing okay, put him back. Well, that was terrible for me. My husband helped me, so I put just earplugs and went to a different room, and I was hearing just crying and crying. And when we have a baby, as mothers, our nervous systems are connected to our kids, and I was just having such distress. I couldn't think straight, I couldn't do anything. I was getting completely mad. So I just said, we're not doing this. Like, we're not doing sleep training. I don't care. We will find a more humane option. And I respect whoever wants to go that route. A lot of people rejoices about it. It's not for me. I called my family in Spain. They were like, okay, do the father method, el método padre. Do the father method. So we did that. They told me how to do it. My husband slept with the baby, and I slept in a different room for 4 nights. So the baby cries at night. My husband could hug him and console him. They slept together. So I still heard my son crying, but it's just trusting my husband, trusting the bond that they developed throughout those 4 nights together. And that was the first time I slept without my baby for 4 nights, but that made a huge difference. So now, when my baby came back with me at night, he was actually hugging me without looking for the breast, which felt really peaceful, relaxing, loving. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm not just the source of food. Like, we are hugging each other because we love each other. And that was for me like the most beautiful experience. Like, even though I miss the bonding through breastfeeding, the hugs that we give each other now, they're just out of this world. I love it, love it, love it. It's just something super special. So super recommended. But all of this you have to plan in advance. It cannot be like, okay, let's cut off now, because you have to have the right timing. 4 nights in which your husband doesn't have to, or partner or wife or whatever kind of relationship you're in, they're not having to get up for work, for example, or they're not too tired. I know that I'm a lot more resilient not sleeping at night than he is. So we had to kind of time everything. And by the time that we finally I stopped breastfeeding, it was already a year. So almost 6 months after I initially started thinking about it. That's why I'm saying all of this information, if you have it beforehand, if you can create your own plan, it's going to make your breastfeeding journey a lot nicer. The only depression I had throughout my postpartum has been because of things related to breastfeeding. So that's another thing that I don't hear about. When you have this precious life that has come out of you, and you have to feed this baby, and you cannot, for whatever reason, that's like the most terrible experience. Check out the picture on my thumbnail, right? So that was like one of the most anxiety driven times in my life, because my baby was born 40 days early. So in the beginning, I couldn't breastfeed him directly. So he got gotten used to the bottle. So I was pumping every 3 hours and then trying to feed him. But the schedule in the beginning is like crazy. Every 3 hours, you have to do this. So basically, it started collapsing. And every time that I had to feed him, I had just finished pumping. Because of that, I didn't have milk for him. So I couldn't practice as much as I wanted with him. So there was a time that I had to do this that you see in the picture. Once again, I called my family in Spain, and they recommended this relaxer, uh, which basically I pump from one breast, put the milk in this container. The container has a little tube that goes to my nipple so that the baby can suck on the nipple with the tube also, thinking that he's taking the milk from my nipple and stimulating more production thanks to that. Because if I just give him bottle, then my production goes away. He doesn't work for the milk. Anyway, so I had to get milk from one place, put it in the other place in this container through the tube. It was just like crazy. And all of this with the app in the phone, as you can see in the picture, it tells me how much I pumped, how much I am producing, another app to see when he eats. It was just like total, total chaos. And my husband suddenly taking a picture, and I'm like, what you doing? This is not what I want to remember from my lactation journey. But now in hindsight, it's kind of funny. Like I see it and it's like, oh my goodness, the multitasking mom, like this is crazy. Like the things that we go through, and we maybe don't even share about. And then, we could help other women. So that's what I'm doing this. More depression that I had because of the breastfeeding journey is that in the beginning, the pump didn't have the right size for my nipple. So it was excruciating pain. And that meant that I couldn't pump all the time, or I had to be in terrible pain. So that also impedes the production of milk. So that was another like, oh, I'm not going to be able to feed my baby. Oh my goodness, what kind of mother I am. So inadequate. If you can have support of another woman that has gone through the journey, or just even by having this video to tell you it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, everything is gonna be okay, it will be a great learning journey of growth. And you can comment here, and I'll do my best to reply and cheer you on. Everything is gonna be okay. So that's why I'm not surprised now when I remember a woman that I met in a course for pregnancy and postpartum and lactation. She was like, I'm not breastfeeding. Like, I refuse to breastfeed. And we were all like, oh, but it's so nice, but your baby. And she was like, I refuse to breastfeed. Like, no. So I can understand it. But hey, there are good things. So the next one I'm going to share is a positive one, which I didn't experience. I have not experienced, but Maybe you will, or maybe you heard somebody that did. And this is that it is known by the medical industry that women breastfeeding may experience orgasms while breastfeeding. When I read this and I was pregnant, I was like, I'm feeling conflicted. Like, what am I going to do if this happens? Like, it's wonderful. And it's so interesting because it's like, I'm okay accepting that I had suffered and it was painful, but pleasure, I don't know, I feel a little strange about it. So yeah, it didn't happen to me. And I feel that what happened, it has been more of an ecstatic experience, like just being with the baby and being like, I feel whole, like there is nothing else that I can want in this second. I feel like my life is completely perfect. I feel in bliss, in ecstasy, things like that, but not that orgasm, which would have been interesting. And I wonder if it is because I was close to it. I don't know. The women that shared about it, they actually felt sinful and impure and all these things. With once again, why we feel so comfortable being martyrs and suffering, and then something like that happens that is more about pleasure, and we don't feel that great. I guess we are just conditioned, or I don't know. What do you think? And even smaller things that I didn't know about. For example, that I'm going to start spilling milk out of my breast when my baby cries. I wasn't told that. And now I understand, I can search it and I see a lot of information. People joke about it. They sell things to put in the bra so that you prevent this. Another thing I didn't know is that when I talked with the lactation nurse, she told me all the different positions to feed the baby and we practice. But this was every 3 hours, so that means throughout the night I had to get up and put myself in these positions, meaning that if you are sleep deprived, you're gonna be just a little more. I call my family and they're like, you're not lying down to breastfeed? That's my favorite position. Lying down, it would be mine too. So I started practicing that one, and that changed my breastfeeding journey. This is also something that you can find online, but some of the other things, like I searched for the aftermath of radio boob, and I didn't find anybody complaining, oh, my nipples are so long, or anything. Like, nobody talks about it. I just hear, while it's happening, it hurts, but I don't hear, wait to see the after picture. I would love to hear more if you have any other things that have happened to you or that you heard about, and if you can put them in the comments so we all learn from it. Bye.